All right, we're back. We did it. I don't think we can win. We did a mission, though. I don't think we can win because these vampires can blot out the sun and move the ocean. Yeah, we did a thing. Okay, let's continue to explore the map. Looks like we got a little thingy here. Go to that. So that was another mission that basically boiled down into go here, shoot the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
We're back to How to Survive 2.
Yeah. At least we're not endlessly searching for mats. In a way, I'm starting to lean towards How to Survive 2 just because the crafting system and the building system was deeper. At least something to look forward to with those horde waves.
I know, but at least we do something different with Redfall. I just don't want to go through that repetitiveness again.
He found me.
Yeah,
that repetitiveness killed it.
It's a looter shooter where leveling doesn't matter.
Never let go.
That's rough.
Never let me go.
At first, this game seemed head over heels better than How to Survive 2, but the longer we've played, it's gotten closer and closer between which game is worse.
Yeah, it really has. It's really not a very big game either. Like, even with us like 100%ing this or whatever, which we pretty much are. I don't know, less than 20 hours probably when it's all said and done of real actual gameplay. Like if we just went and we focused and we weren't like messing around at all, talking, screwing around, killing stuff, we're just bolting towards each objective, you could definitely get it in under 20.
That was higher than it looked.
What was How to Survive 2's rating? Wasn't it like a 3 or a 4 out of 10?
I was gonna give it a 4 and I think I had to lower it to 3 because it has an end game and that end game makes it so that
Just completely alienates one of the
it cuts out everything but melee. You just melee's it. And yeah, it's just like stupid. But it basically reveals that the zombies were started by aliens. Yay.
Well, it didn't reveal that. What it revealed was that Kovac was sick of dealing with zombies. He just wanted a different challenge, so he invited aliens over. That's why we were defending those towers, because he was trying to get a strong enough signal to...
Yeah, you got good memory. Damn, I forgot all about that. And there was basically one mission, so it felt very tacked on. They're like, oh shit, we need an end game. We need something for people who have played the game to this point to do.
That are definitely invested enough to complete it and then do the end game.
So they added one mission and then one resource and called that end game. If all of the lore in the game was audio tapes, it'd be a whole lot easier to... But oh god. Let's just play them all at once, fuck it.
Oh god.
Fudge it. There we go. You'd think they would make us pick one.
What is your rating right now with Redfall?
There's only like 3 things at most I like about this game right now. I like the world. Like, I like how it looks when it loads in properly. And I do like that it's basically an open world, which are the same point. I like looter shooters, so it's cool that there's different characters. I wish there was more to set those characters apart. You know, it's like your character's the only one really worth playing. And I like that there's a stake launcher and a UV gun. Like that's creative. But that's about it. There's two gun classes, of which there's 2 types total, making 4. And then, yeah, that's it. So I guess I'd call it a 3 out of 10 right now. There's 3 things I like, and the rest of it is just so generic and so unpolished and underbaked. And that's where I'm at. How about you, Tucker?
I definitely am not the best at this game right now. Personally, though, I still think it's better than How to Survive 2, because How to Survive 2 had a completely unbearable start and mid-game.
It had a rough start, but there was something we screwed up about the start that would have helped us. We realized.
I think we just didn't get food or something. we had no food and water for most
we
of
had
that
no
Let's
food and
Play.
water, which was meaning we didn't do any damage, but there was a mission that we could have been doing at the very beginning that would have actually solved that whole problem. I just can't remember it.
Wasn't it a Kovac mission?
It might have been. I can't remember. All I know is very deep into the game, we suddenly realized that we could have made our life 10 times easier had we just like done this one thing right. And it would have changed our entire impression of the game. I think also try to teleport us up to the top of the mountain because we have to go up there for this next stupid thing.
All right.
I think a lot of it was that even if we didn't have a mission, we both agreed in How to Survive 2 that if the game had played the way that the mid game had, once we got food, once we figured out our food situation, had the game played that way from the beginning, it would have been fine. It would probably be more like a 5 out of 10. Probably 4 because that end game decision. I mean, the game was better if they hadn't even done an end game. But because the opening is so miserable with the survival elements, and then it becomes just nothing later on. You have tons of food, everything else. And, you know, the thing that always hurts How to Survive 2, though, is just how damn repetitive it was. We would have to go and do those feather runs, and then we'd have to do those stupid-ass arrow runs, and, like...
And then we're out of feathers again.
Yeah, and that was a huge drag on that game. It's just how many times we had to repeat ourselves, and then we'd say, like, okay, this is going to be it. We're going to get 15 screws and 27 engine blocks, and that'll get us, and then we'd find, like, 3 episodes later, we were right back to getting engine blocks and screws. So if there's one thing you want to say about this game that's better, is that's 100% not a part of this game. This game is what you see is what you get. At the same time, you're talking about a AAA game, Microsoft, Arkane, $70. I picked up How to Survive 2. This isn't entirely fair, but it's also, at the same time, it's true. I bought How to Survive 2 for $5, and I bought the DLC for $2. So I spent like $12 total on How to Survive 2. Now, I haven't spent any money on this, but this is $70 because of Game Pass. That's the only reason we're still doing it. If I had spent $70 on this, I would have 100% asked for a refund. Because it's just not worth... if you have a wire kit, there's a kit in here. The only thing that's cool is, like, looking at the world and... But it just doesn't set itself apart. The vampires should be so fun and so cool and so unique to fight. And they're so generic. What else are you thinking, Tucker? What is there anything that you're thinking, man, How to Survive 2 did this better? Also, like, right here, Tucker, the scale of things. This counter is massive. It goes up to my chin. So either my character's like 1 foot tall, or this is a kitchen for a giant. Because that's something about this game that they just, like, the scale of shit is all off.
I feel like How to Survive did a better job with likable characters. Like, at least you remembered their names. With this, you only remember the names of your main character and you don't remember, like, any others.
Yes.
Like,
look on the horizon.
A couple
Tucker.
notable ones, like, yes.
If fish
they're coming for us.
didn't have eyes and flew, would they also be flying saucers? And if they were, would you eat them? Hell, I know I would. I'd wash them down with an ice cold Budweiser. Cubs win.
Oh.
Cubs win.
I definitely feel like How to Survive had more recognizable characters, which I think helped it a little bit.
How to Survive 2 did? Like, you're talking about like Kovacs? You're talking about our characters?
Well, with Redfall, it seems like, at least for me, the only characters I'm paying attention to are the main ones, like our characters.
Well,
those are the only ones I'm paying attention to.
The only one that stood out is the main evil guy who took blood from his daughter to try to live forever.
Hollow Man.
Yeah, in fact, I think she was even adopted. Yeah, so that one stood out because he was pretty villainous. But all of those people inside the firehouse that you're like supposed to form a relationship with and you're supposedly helping out, you remember?
You don't get to know them at all.
Oh, just teleport us down if you will. Can you remember any of their names?
I can't remember any of their names.
I know one was a reverend, and you can't really tell if they're a boy or a girl, and obviously they did that on purpose, and that's like it. You're supposed to know these people, they're supposed to be helping you, and you're supposed to be helping them, and that's what's supposed to make you want to push forward. And they're just nothing. They're just there, T-posing around.
Calm down a bit, shall we?
But Kovacs was good in the first How to Survive because of the betrayal. That was the part of the story that worked there with that game. Right, when you think he's helping you the whole time and you find out he actually was purposely misleading you to go to the island.
Yeah, and that subplot where he threw that girl into the river.
Oh yeah, that was really bad.
Really like locked that little girl up in that box.
Yeah, they start hinting towards the end of the game that might just be the bad guy, but they keep you hanging on.
There was voices, men shapes, patterns.
There's a grave lock in here.
Flies and bells, keys and claws.
Let's go, Gravelock.
This guy killed himself. I mean, where did they get all these deer antlers from?
I think we should just outline which game does better things than the other. I feel like Redfall has better world building than How to Survive 2.
Well, definitely. At the same time, there's arguably more to do in How to Survive 2. Even though we're talking the difference, I don't think I finished this point earlier, but one's an indie and one is a AAA game.
Right.
And that's in How to Survive 2's credit. That's an indie that released probably a little rough, but they did a lot of work on it. And if you're into games like that, I'm not saying it's the best, but you could definitely get a good couple dozen hours out of it easy that are at least semi-enjoyable. Especially if you can get your food issues solved early on, there's enjoyment to be had in How to Survive 2. It definitely overstays its welcome, and it's, far too repetitious. Redfall, it just isn't done. I'm going to keep coming back to that because that's how I see it. It's a game that is it's a good, probably, concept, I guess. Except that it's a super generic first-person shooter. It feels like an alpha. And it feels like an alpha or a beta, and that would have solved a lot, just marking at that. So I was just about to comment before we fought these guys, like, notice that about 15, 20 minutes had passed, and what was there to shoot during that time period?
There was nothing.
Nothing. That happens pretty often in this game, where you run around and just, there's nothing. And even these markers on the map. Now, supposedly, these are this way for later content, but boy, with the devs quiet, you kind of wonder if that's going to happen. I mean, they've got this as a live service thing, as in even if you go single player, it's online, so you can't pause it and read the notes either, which is super annoying. Even if you're one of those rare people who wants to read the notes, they make it even more difficult to do it. And there's not been an event or something to, reward people who've decided to see it through this rough patch. It's going to have fans. There's going to be people who want to defend it because they paid good money for it. Or they really like Arkane, or maybe they're a big fan of what this game could be. All right.
Or just rooting for Xbox or something.
Yeah, rooting for Xbox. So Xbox is fine, first of all. And second of all, that's not just because of Microsoft being, a juggernaut. It's because there's actually been a lot of really good games released on Game Pass lately that are just flying under the radar, like Hi-Fi Rush, and another one that just came out called Luna something. They're just smaller games. They're indie games. And
I feel like that's what Microsoft is really good at unintentionally, because Microsoft just accepts all sorts of different games, and a lot of these are just made by small indie developers, while other companies like Sony, they'll just have a bunch of the big games. Like dude, like Far Cry.
Yeah, the trouble is, well, for them, you got Spider-Man, you got God of War, you got The Last of Us. I don't know if Uncharted's still going on or not.
It still is.
It's definitely their thing is they've got the big exclusives, which make a lot more money than the indies. And Hi-Fi Rush is really cool, but it's not, you know, COD or Fortnite or any of those games during their peak cool. Like, it's gonna have like Atomic Crops. I love that game. But there's probably like 1,000 people that play that damn game, you know? And that's where Microsoft's trouble is. And I almost wonder, people bitch about EA, but the truth is EA's got a lot of really fun games in their arsenal. Yeah, they got a lot of pay to win. Yeah, they deserve a lot of the shit they get. I'm not saying they don't. Problem is, there's like Garden Warfare 2 and Mass Effect 3, and even Andromeda, I heard, was not near as bad as what people said it was. EA has actually a history, The Sims, of publishing fun games, genuinely fun once you get into them, and they feel fun to play. I understand they've got a bad reputation. I almost wonder if Microsoft just doesn't like know how to make fun games, because it's a lot of the time it's games that they didn't have a lot to do with, they just happen to own, like Halo 1, Halo 2. Yeah, Microsoft had a really, you know, big relationship with Bungie, obviously, and was helping to bankroll the thing. But otherwise, they just weren't around.
You just kind of let them do their thing.
Yeah, and it's when Microsoft gets involved that
things happen.
It seems that way. Like Gears. I mean, I guess Gears 5 was supposedly good, but why don't fans give a shit about it? Why is it so hard to care? Because I really liked Gears 4. Especially since they had to reboot it and make a comeback. Forget it's like the Volition or something. I know Epic doesn't do it anymore. The Xbox brand is just, it's in flux right now. It's in a real state of change. And what the plan is, especially after Phil Spencer's interview saying that he doesn't, you know, think that they really can actually make any ground up on PlayStation now or Nintendo, because people are basically set on their system, and that's the way it is, and there's not a good way to disrupt the market anymore. I don't agree with him. I still think great games will lead to more sales. I think PlayStation 5 shows that. I think he's half right, though. There's no doubt that PlayStation 5 sells so well largely because of brand recognition. Or you're already on Sony, which is, you know, the PlayStation 2 is the greatest selling console of all time. So there's no reason to like change over your gamer tag, or you're already on PSN Plus, so you don't want to change it over. Like me with Xbox and Tucker with Xbox, we're both on the Xbox ecosystem. So there's not like a good reason for us to switch over. The thing is, I still think about this. If, as a Microsoft stockholder, you know, I own a share of Microsoft. Tucker and his buddies, all of Tucker's buddies owns PlayStation. They all play on the PlayStation. That's what they do, and that's a huge issue for that age group to only be on PlayStation. And when Tucker's gone over to his cousins and played on the PlayStation, right afterwards, he's wanted to like play God of War, right, Tucker? You really liked God of War. What's that?
It was really fun to play. I just wished it wasn't an exclusive.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, well then you might as well buy a PlayStation. And it's one of those games where it's apparently so damn good that it's got someone at your age. You're officially 13 now, right?
Yeah, I've been 13 for a little bit. 13 and a half now, actually.
November 13th, Tucker was 13. So he's that prime gaming age, that prime demographic that if you're a game company, you want to capture. And yeah, it makes him want to, it was kind of making you want to run a PlayStation, right? Or get a PlayStation.
Right. They're just super expensive. And there's a big shortage of them.
Yeah, and apparently they're already going to do like a mid-generation upgrade is the rumor.
And they're releasing the Q.
Oh yeah, the Q. Yeah, so they're just absolutely owning the whole market right now. So it's definitely a bad day for Microsoft. This game is definitely a low point. Is it as bad as people say? Oh man, I mean, it's playable. It's not E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the Atari, and that's what people are trying to make it up to be. it's just not up to snuff. It's not up to what Microsoft standards should be, and that's the big one. Is you have this big juggernaut, super powerful tech company where it's, you know, it's up to like $320 a share, makes Windows, has Azure, the cloud computing, has the AI stuff, and Xbox is a part of its revenue and a part of the shareholder value and everything else. And then you have fans like myself and Tucker. I've been a fan since the OG Xbox. I work on and mod and homebrew original Xboxes. It's a bad time for the fans too, because it really seems like the company, it's not the Kinect days, which got us to this point, but at the same time, it's been like 3 to 5 years, something like that, since they started trying to change course after the PlayStation 4, which ended up being one of the greatest systems ever, with one of the greatest libraries ever. Just killed it, and the Xbox One nearly destroyed the brand. We're talking years since they started this initiative, and what fruit has it borne? What fruit has it bared so far? Not a lot. I mean, State of Decay, but they just got Undead Labs, so Undead Labs again was independent with 1 and 2, and those are great games. But if 3 comes out broken, then I'm gonna be convinced that it's a bad thing if
Microsoft's cursed.
yeah, it's a bad thing if Microsoft gets a hold of you. It does, something bad happens, because losing Bungie turns out to be one of the worst things that happened for Microsoft ever. Because Halo and the Xbox were one and the same, and they knew it. And that was Bungie's baby. And Bungie said it was hell being with Microsoft, which was just bullshit, because Microsoft did not micromanage that studio at all.
They let them do whatever the heck they wanted.
Yeah, gave them a big budget, just gave them deadlines, and you kind of need that. You still have to have somebody in charge. So then they went on to make Destiny, which might have been flawed, but is, let's be honest,
still mega popular
and amazing. I mean, it really did end up pioneering new territory in looter shooters. It's made Borderlands seem old. That's how good Destiny has been. Now, I had to quit it because I'm not into these games that you have to be married to anymore, but I know how good that game can be when it's good. And I know why it still has a dedicated fan base. That's a huge issue for Microsoft that Sony bought them. Now, Marathon's going to be coming to Xbox. That helps, but what Microsoft would need right now is it needed Halo Infinite to be amazing. And that didn't go well for Microsoft because it got delayed. Its player count is way down across the board. It doesn't have kids like Tucker's age playing it, which, again, my age group, when I was Tucker's age, we were all playing Halo and COD. They're playing like Fortnite and shit. They don't care about it. So that it no longer has that same name recognition going on. That's a problem. Huge problem for Microsoft, because Halo is their Mario, their Zelda. They've really just got the one anymore. And they had a certain thing, which is that they were supposed to be like the more mature console, the gritty console. So you still have Nintendo making completely unique experiences that you can only get through Nintendo. And then you've got these absolutely stellar first-party titles coming out that are super fun. And, you know, Zelda's apparently this latest Zelda, what is it, the Heaven Kingdom or something? Skyward Kingdom, Tucker? What is it called?
I have no idea.
The latest Zelda. 10s out of 10s. I mean, game of the year across the board. It's gonna win it. It's getting just... yeah, it's gonna be considered one of the greatest games ever made. So, and then what Microsoft has is Halo Infinite and Redfall. So that's why they don't even mess with Nintendo anymore. They're more than happy to give Nintendo their shares. They're part of the market. They just want to try to compete with Sony. And what Sony got? God of the War. God of War, Uncharted, Last
God of the War.
You know, it's like, just so many good games. And, you know, the live experience, it might be, I guess, technically still in some way better, I guess. I mean, the PlayStation 3 did have a lot of serious issues with that. A lot of lag. It got hacked and things like that. But you get free games with... Microsoft has one thing going for it right now, and that's Game Pass. It's got Game Pass, and it's got really good cloud computing stuff going down. I can play Xbox Game Pass games on my cell phone, but as an adult, you know, I just don't like have much need for it. I wish I did, because it's super cool and it really does work, and it's super simple too. It's not like hard to set it up. It's pretty dope. And so they've got a good like relationship with Android and stuff, and with Samsung. It's really cool technology. It just doesn't seem to move the needle much on the market share. But like Among Us, I mean, so you could play Among Us on Game Pass on your Android. The problem is you could just as easily play it through the damn App Store. Okay, and then they were supposed to have that special kind of dynamic lighting, whatever that's called. See, we can't even remember. That's how, like, much it's gone now. What do they call that, Tucker? That, like, super cool lighting?
No idea.
That modern PCs have?
I have no idea.
Ray tracing.
Ah.
They were supposed to have... Alright, we're going to a safe house, so we'll finally get to do some missions. They were supposed to have ray tracing, and then they were like, you can play Minecraft, and they showed off some Minecraft with ray tracing. Yay!
It's like little to no difference.
Well, what they needed to do was show Halo. They would have been like, here's fucking Halo. 60 FPS, ray tracing.
Safe house.
Yes. Just to look at the game alone would sell.
Anybody here?
But that's not what they did. Instead, you know, Halo got delayed, and then Halo came out, and people said the campaign was solid, but the multiplayer that was supposed to keep people and be Fortnite just didn't. I can tell you that I didn't like it that much. Tucker really didn't like it. Why didn't you like it, Tucker?
I don't know, just something about it I didn't like at all.
To me, it feels old. Like, Halo, if you go from the original Halo and you go up through Halo Reach, what you really are talking about is quite a bit of improvements, which is the more important thing. It played better, it was smoother, the controls were tighter, but it was always in this weird position where, unlike Doom, it was both kind of moving with the times and didn't know how to stay true to itself. Doom is the ultimate example in you make what was old new again. You stick with the original formula. I talk about this in the capstones. The sprint's on by default. That's how I always define Doom, is sprint is on by default. That's a huge debate in the Halo world. It's like, should there be sprint? Because it's an older game, right? You know, 2001, something like that. First came out. Then Halo 2, it really refined that. And then, you know, look at that shit. There's supposed to be thumbtacks there, and they're just floating in space.
Ah, yes.
So by the time you get to Halo Reach, it's just like an extremely good version of Halo. With, you know, very good balance at that point. Very good balance. You had the battle rifle, you had the Magnum, and it wasn't like one gun is really broken. And that's why Halo Reach, I mean, I played that with my buddy Seth more than any other one in multiplayer. Bungie really did leave it on a really high note. I love that game. And Halo 4 and 5, I think Halo 4 got way too much shit, and I shouldn't have delayed playing it, because I actually think they did a good job on it, especially having to fill the shoes that they had to fill. But they should have never acted like it was going to come to an end. That's one of the mistakes they made, is we all knew that Halo was going to be one of those Mario, Zeldas, and Metroids where you're going to get...
Like, they're never going to end.
Yeah, all behind us is the mission.
How do you mean?
But they decided to play it off, and then Halo 5 was fine. You know, it's kind of like, I've always actually agreed with the devs on that Halo 4 had a really good campaign, but the multiplayer was kind of like, it was too different. It felt too much like COD. Halo 5 had a really, its campaign was blah, even though I thought the squad system was actually pretty sweet. And it had really good multiplayer. I mean, so much so that it maintained, when I was streaming on Twitch, from like 2015 to 2019, even to the pandemic, there was still a really strong multiplayer community, competitive community, like MLG shit. And viewers. I mean, it wasn't like it was huge, but it was definitely healthy. Now, does anyone even talk about Halo Infinite?
I haven't seen anything about Halo Infinite in such a long time.
People were all like, oh, it's in disarray, it's broken, it's turning to shit, the death of Halo. Okay, maybe that was happening, but at least people are talking about it. That is the most important thing a lot of the time, is like, even if people are shitting on it, at least they're talking about it. They're still interested in it. The moment that you see people not even talk about it, that's not good. That just means you're dead. Borderlands. I'm not worried about Borderlands because, you know, yeah, they're in a huge content drought. We all know that. Borderlands has been in a huge content drought. Wonderlands just got literally abandoned with a really bad set of DLCs, and which we did a Let's Play on, and eventually there'll be a capstone on the channel here. But people still talk about Borderlands. Namely because Borderlands 1 through 3 are all really good, and there's plenty to mess around with, plenty to learn, plenty of challenge runs you can do. There's content to be made there. I don't see anybody talking about freaking Halo anymore. Why? What's happened? Was it that uninteresting? You said you don't know what it is, you just don't like it. Can you try to put it into words what it is about it, Tucker?
It may just not fit my kind of genre.
You played 1 and 2 though, and you liked them. You played the campaigns, and you kind of realized like why Halo was good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it when you go to play Infinite that it's like, I don't like this?
I don't know. It just something feels different. It just doesn't feel right, and I don't know why. I just don't like the multiplayer with that one.
I will say though that I thought that it felt really good on a controller. I think that the controls in Halo Infinite are actually really tight, really responsive, and I give it credit for that. It
does not feel bad with a controller.
Yeah, it feels great with a controller. It just doesn't stand apart. It doesn't feel like Halo. It feels like you know, an early 2000s game, and there's so much that's changed now that I like the mobility of 5. 5, you had tons of parkour elements. You could sky dash, you could double jump, you could slide, you could mantle.
This guy's sliding.
And you could do a ground slam. There was these there was this like combo light system built into Halo Infinite that really people slept on, but if you watch competitive Halo, you could see people would like master it. And there was surprising complexity in there. It really helped that game stand out at the end of the day. You combine that with the squad system they put in 5, I think 5's underappreciated. 5's actually super solid. And that's why it got so much support, and why at the end of the day fans, you know, talk very positively about it, I think. Infinite, okay, you have those stupid freaking abilities which are on, you know, charges. You have like 2 grappling hook charges left. I don't like that shit. Everybody just wants the grappling hook.
Because the grappling hook's easily the strongest one. You can get around the fastest.
Right. Just give us our mobility back, please. If you could put the Halo 5 mobility into Halo Infinite, I'd probably still mess around with it every now and again. But with that weird inventory thing where you have to go find the thing to get the mobility, and then you only have like 2 charges of it, I just personally can't even be bothered. Animal control. What's with all the ravens? A bunch of ravens came. Spooks.
Spooks.
Let's return to the safe house.
All right.
We're gonna call that an episode.